report. He's unprofessional. Ivan Z. Fink. It's a weird thing, whether you're a teacher, dentist, or technician. If you're bold and expressive enough to carry your personality in, it can give you a halo, setting you apart. Your students, patients, and customers will likely notice it immediately and feel more at ease when you're screaming, joking, and singing in front of them, treating them as your friends instead of service recipients. Because those roles are traditionally considered professional and strict and patterned in human minds. That kind of sharp contrast makes you unforgettable, makes you stand out. This memorability is usually a good thing at first, and they'll immediately want to call you the best, because that's usually the first word that comes to people's minds to describe this sharp contrast, especially when you're skilled and competent enough. No need to be exceptional, just not too bad is enough. However, the same halo can be dangerous to you as well, because humans change. Once your students, patients, or customers have opinions about you, which can easily happen in any human interaction, including with your parents and spouses, they can easily take advantage of your expressiveness, the same quality that earned you the best title, to target you and knock you down. Like, suppose you're a mathematics teaching assistant, TA, you've been singing and writing poems in your discussion classrooms, doing all kinds of different things, and thus have made a remarkable impression on your students and been called the best TA. Then, a student didn't get the expected score on the final, got very frustrated, submitted regrading requests, and asked for your help. But you turned him down, not because you're cruel, but because you're professional. You know you don't have the power to negotiate that. That wouldn't be fair to other students. So, he stopped liking you. He started to tell others, or maybe himself, that the TA is unprofessional, writing poems in discussions, contacting students outside of the discussion classroom, making students uncomfortable. But he forgot. He had also called you the best TA who genuinely cares about his students. When you did all that, what made you become the worst now in his mind? Is it really because you did all those things? No, it's because he stopped liking you for something else. That's the real reason. From there, he could even convince himself that he didn't get a good grade because you didn't teach well. You sang, you chatted, you expressed, so you didn't treat this job seriously, even if in reality you've devoted more than any colleague and your teaching skill is second to none. He couldn't see that. He doesn't care. He sees his final result. So, when everything's good, you're the best TA. When something goes wrong, you become a problem. And one funny thing is, you're very vulnerable and reportable because you're not traditional. He wants to report the professor too for not giving him a good grade, but he just can't. The professor couldn't be more mediocre and normal, giving him no cause to report. So he reported you, not for the real reason, but for your uniqueness, your creativity, and the very things that set you apart. He even tried to blend in fictional examples, like you made your colleagues uncomfortable too for further hiding his role in this report, not wanting you to find out it was him. He knows it's not really wrong to protect his real animosity, and when it backfires, he can just explain, I might have made a careless mistake. Nothing serious, no harm done. So, your uniqueness now becomes their weapon. And the sadder truth is, it's a very potent weapon. Because the university usually wants to play it safe. Think about it. When they hear that their employee, a math TA, sang in the math classroom and wrote poems and offended someone, what a terrible TA. The student is right and so brave to finally call it out. Shame on him. He's absolutely unprofessional. You know you're a professional, although not traditionally so, like a safe, mediocre teacher without any personality or passion. You know you're more than just professional. You're post-professional. What is post-professional? Stand on the foundation of fairness and care and love to give your students a much better learning experience without sacrificing any integrity or seriousness of this profession. That is more than just professional. That is post-professional. Unfortunately, this is not measurable by the current institution or system. When someone can't see you're beyond, they think you're less. If they've been trained to categorize people just as professional and unprofessional, then you're definitely not the former. They know what the former looks like. So you're the latter. They'll treat the report very seriously and probably assume the worst about you. Even when they find out after some research that your teaching style has been widely appreciated by all your students and that you wrote math poems only to help their learning and reduce exam anxiety, that you reached out to your current students to check in if this course dressed them with help, and to your past students as equals half a year after the course was over. Even with all that, the institution will tell you to be traditional, to stop, because they would rather have employees who aren't reported than students who are inspired. If they're less responsible and tired of those things, they'll not let you teach anymore. They can list the reason, sounding very professional, hoping you don't appeal. So you're knocked down, and the student got the revenge he wanted. That's why it really takes some courage to be non-traditional, and it takes more courage for authority, like an institution, to recognize and award that. To win this hoax from the student, you've got to have a very strong belief in your teaching methodology, one that can endure doubt by authority and pass all the scrutiny with integrity. You've got to have a very strong belief in yourself, one that can survive misunderstandings by the students you care most about and come out untouched in soul. You can be untouched because you know your students' studies and lives have been made a little better just because of you. You can be untouched because you know you've never been the unprofessional TA they framed you as. You know how to rewrite the script. You can be untouched because you're always being true to your profession, always being true to humanity, and always being true to your heart. You know, there are always two paths in one's career: being safe versus being unforgettable. Today, I want to honor the unforgettable ones. They're not assimilated by the system. They're too pure-hearted to be anyone but themselves. They're bold enough to bring their humanity into work, treating the work as part of them, as a way to express themselves, at the risk of being misunderstood and being vulnerable. And they're persistent enough to look in the eyes of those who reported them, coming out of it and saying, "I'm still here." They're not just here to survive the system, they're here to change the world for the better. When they're told this room only hosts safeness with no place for them, they don't argue, but build a cathedral that can hold everybody. They're the creative spirit we all need, because the safe rules we follow now were once the unconventional ones they're fighting for. To step out of the safeness, to fight for a kinder, freer future for all of us is always worth it. Yes, it can be a lonelier path with less light. So even if we must be the safe ones, let's be the stars to accompany them and to light up the sky together, because they're never meant to explore the night alone. The next day, they'll become the sun. written in Playa del Rey, Los Angeles, June 14th, 2025.